Hello and welcome to this AppSense video. My name is Gary McAllister and today we're going to be looking at a new feature in Environment Manager 8.3, and that is the ability to select a personalization server via group policy. Now this feature has been introduced as it now facilitates a standalone personalization, so it removes the need for an Environment Manager configuration file. The reason we've done this is to really reduce network traffic, improve performance, and in large deployments it avoids the first round trip to establish which personalization site should be used, and hopefully lead to a lot easier configuration of the personalization side of things. So I'll briefly talk you through the infrastructure that we're running on. I've got two servers on the screen at the moment, both on 2008 R2. On the left hand side I have my management server, which is also my first personalization server. So I'm using SQL Express, and this personalization server has its own standalone database on here. My second server set up fairly similar. Again, this is a separate personalization server with its own separate database. So these are two standalone personalization servers, each kind of unique to each other. If we just have a look through the client console on my server here first off. Now, anyone familiar with previous versions of Environment Manager will notice that usually there's a separate button down here to switch to the policy side of Environment Manager. We now have the option when installing the console to choose either to install both personalization and policy pieces as we used to, or you can now choose to just install one or the other. So in this instance I've just decided to install personalization. So in this case my administrator only has access to change personalization settings and not the policy side. So I've kept this completely a personalization configuration here. Now I already have one personalization group set up, my GPO demo users, and quick look at the membership rule. Fairly simple, just the user has to be a member of my AppSense users OU to be a member of this personalization group. If I look at the whitelist here, I've just added in a few standard applications, Notepad, Adobe Reader, and Office 2010. Now, one more thing I want to show you on this server is if we go into the management console, this is the desktop that we're going to be looking at today and demoing on. Now, if we look at the packages here, I've only got the Environment Manager agent and the AppSense client communication agents deployed to this end device. So we've not got an Environment Manager configuration here. So just to reiterate, in the past, to set a personalization server, we would have to deploy out an Environment Manager configuration for policy to specify that server. Now, if I go to my second server, my second personalization server, and just have a look in the same console again. So again, here we've just got personalization set up, but this time I haven't got my personalization group yet. So I'm going to manually add in a personalization group, and I'm going to make this pretty much exactly the same as it was on my first server. I'm going to give the name slightly differently, so I'm going to call this one GPO test users, but I'm going to set up the same membership rule for it. So it's user OU, and as ever we plug straight into Active Directory and we select AppSense users here. Now for the whitelist, instead of entering this in manually, which in the past we would have had to have done within Environment Manager, I'm going to use a new feature called the Quick Setup Wizard. Now this gives us the ability to set up basic configurations very quickly. We use templates for the common applications, and if I go into here, we can see from the splash screen what we could achieve here. So we can manage connections to personalization servers, create, configure groups, edit groups, add in applications, a whole host of other things here. So I'm going to click next. Now we already have a connection to my personalization server which is local to this box, so that's fine. Next again. Now here we can choose to either add in a new personalization group or to edit an existing one. So we're going to select my GPO test users, and we're going to select edit there as well. So we're going to keep the same name, and when I hit next, now here we get the list of common applications that are included in personalization now. So these are the kind of first ones that we've added in. There are going to be more templates available over the coming months. But here are really the most common applications that we come across to personalize. So as I want to make this the same as my first server, I'm just going to add in Adobe Reader and Office 2010. And in fact, if I open up the Office 2010 tab here, you can see all the applications that come under this group. So with those two selected, I'm going to click Next. Now on the next screen I've got the option to add in any custom applications that I want to. So in this case I'm just going in Notepad, and let's see, we pick up the executable automatically and select Next. Now here are the other configurable settings. So we're going to leave this as default now. So offline mode we're not going to switch on. Discovery of user applications going to leave off as well, but desktop settings we're going to leave switched on. And go Next. So here, just to confirm, we're going to complete the wizard. We're not going to add in or edit any other groups. And so we get a review of the changes that we're going to make. And we're just going to hit finish on here. So just to another confirmation that we want to make the change to the database, and we select yes. So that now runs through, and if I go back to my GPO test users group, we've now got the same whitelist as we have on my first server. So we've got two identical groups, two identical membership rules for the group, but these are completely separate personalization servers. So just to confirm, if I go into my GPO test users group and we go to personalization and analysis, you can see that we have no data there because obviously we've just created this group. And in fact, if I switch back to my first server again and do the same thing, so into personalization analysis, we hit display, and again we've got no data there. So both these groups are completely empty at the moment. So now we're going to log a user on to one of our desktops. So it's the Win 7 desktop that we saw in the management console, and we're going to log on first off as my finance user. So I'm just using local profiles in this environment, just really to keep things fairly simple. So as the user logs on, we're getting that local profile loaded. There's not much else being applied at this stage. And when we reach the desktop in just a moment, we're just going to get that basic look and feel of Windows 7 there. There we go. So we've got a pop-up that just appeared down the bottom here, and that was something called Personalization Information, which is a tool available from the AppSense Exchange website. It's useful for debugging, gives you information about which applications are being managed, information about connections and that kind of thing. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail now, but it's a very handy debugging tool which I'm using here. So we see straight off that we've picked up those applications, Notepad, Adobe Reader Group and Office 2010 that we're going to be managing for this user. So I'm going to open up a couple of apps first off. So go into Office and Excel. Again, there's a personalization information popping up telling us that we are launching a managed application. And I'm just going to make some real basic changes to this application. And I'm also going to bring up Notepad as well. And again, just make some basic look and feel changes. I might change the font in here as well. So I'm going to go to something fairly standard, Arial. Set the font size to 20. There we go. So I'm going to close both these applications down, and PersInfo has confirmed that we're now syncing those up. I'm going to go back to my first personalization server. I'm going to go back into Environment Manager and back into Personalization Analysis again. Now this time when we hit display, we've got my finance users information there. So we've got those changes we made to Office 2010 and Notepad have synced up straight away. So this user has hit this personalization server. However, when we switch to our second personalization server over here, even though the groups were identical with the same membership rule, when we hit display here, you see we've still got no data available. So my finance user has just hit this first server here. So we're now going to log off, and We're going to log on again with a different user in this environment. So just wait for these this log off to go through, and then we can log straight back on again. This time we're going to log on as my engineer. So very similar setup to the finance user. We're using a local profile again for this user, just on this standard Win 7 build. So back to the desktop, and again we get persinfo has loaded, and confirm that we've made that connection. And we're going to open up those same applications again, so Excel and Notepad. And very similar to before, we're just going to make some look and feel changes to these applications, and then just close those down. Now when we go back to my first server again, so this is where my finance user hit when we logged on the first time. Now as we're logging onto the same machine, in the past we would expect the same personalization server to be hit. When we hit display this time, we still just have our finance user here. But when we move over to my second server, go into personalization analysis again, we can see that we now have my engineer over here with those same groups that have synced back up. So just to confirm that, we've logged onto the same desktop with two different users, and we've hit two different personalization servers. So as well as being able to set this without policy, we've now included the option to set the personalization server on a user basis. So rather than per machine, we're now able to set this per user, which again allows us for much greater flexibility. It allows us to specify perhaps even a VIP users to go to a certain database that is then replicated, where we can have a different one for office-based ones who don't need replication so much. So this is one way to set this per user. We have also included this option in the sites side of personalization, but we're not going to go through that today. So this is a method now of being able to set the personalization server per user. And again, as you saw, there was no policy configuration that was deployed to these users, and this is purely done through the group policy. So we'll have a look at that group policy now, and look at how we actually set this up. So I've got the group policy management tool open here, and you can see that underneath my AppSense users OU, I've got two sub OUs, one for my engineers and one for my finance group. If we open up this, you can see that we've got a GPO that's there. Ignore that. And we can go in and edit this and see what we've actually set for them. So again, this is just my finance users. I'm just waiting for, here we go, group policy to respond. So under user policies and admin templates, we've got the AppSense option here now. So under Environment Manager, we've got only two options to set. We've got specify list of personalization servers, which if I open this up, we can see we've just enabled this and set the server as MGMT. Now that's my first personalization server. And the second option here is just to bypass the server-side processing. As I mentioned, we can set the user's personalization server via the sites option now. So this is just instructing Environment Manager to bypass any rules that are there and just look at the OU, just look at the GPO that we've set for the personalization server there. So if I go back and look at my engineers, again we can see here that we've set up a very similar rules to the previous one. Admin templates, AppSense, Environment Manager. But this time, for this group of users, we've set the personalization server to be pserver2, which is the second personalization server that we hit there. So there we are, fairly straightforward setting to configure. By doing so, we've allowed two different groups of users to hit two different personalization servers, depending on who they are rather than kind of where they are, which we've had to do previously. But the most important aspect of this is that we have managed to separate policy and personalization in this release. And as you saw earlier, we're not using any kind of policy configuration at all to set up this environment for our users. So this was a real quick fire demonstration of this new feature. There are many more features in Environment Manager 8.3, especially around personalization and especially around simplifying the configuration of the product. And for more information on that, please visit appsense.com. There's plenty of details on there about what we've now been able to achieve with AppSense Environment Manager 8.3. So thank you very much for your time. I hope that was useful. My name's been Gary McAllister. Thank you very much.